Hi everyone and welcome to this week's Intuition Diary. To let you know, this is going to be the last Intuition Diary for a little while because on the 1st of December I am starting the Intuitive Advent for the winter solstice, and you'll be able to see all 21 days of that on the YouTube channel. But talking of winter and winter solstice, my Intuition Diary this week is sharing with you a personal reflection on an incident that happened last week due to the wintry weather. There was one day when there had been a lot of ice form, and I live in a little cul-de-sac and it really hadn't melted, and the dog had not had his morning walk, and I kept looking out to see if it was safe to go for a walk. And eventually, early afternoon, we ventured out and we didn't get very far. After we'd gone about 5 houses down the cul-de-sac, I heard a man screaming and I heard a crashing sound. And as I turned the corner, I saw an older man lying on the ground and a dog wandering round. My dog kicked off. I had to pick him up. I put my foot on the lead of the dog that was wandering so she couldn't wander off. I knew the dog. And the man lying down, I just reached down to him and I could see there was blood on his face. And he was trying to get up and I said, just stay there for a few seconds and tell me, do you feel any pain before you get up? Do you feel any pain? Tell me, what hurts, kind of thing. And I looked at his face and saw the blood and I said, I'm going to call you an ambulance. And both hands were full. I was trying to get in my pocket for my phone. Fortunately, a neighbour came outside. He said, is everything okay? I said, no, please can you call an ambulance? And he said, oh, do we need one? And I said, well, I think we do, don't you? And every instinct in my body to that point, every instinct in my whole being had said, this gentleman needs an ambulance, he's going to need some medical attention, he's bleeding from his face, his glasses are broken, there's broken glass on the ground, what if that's got into his face, what if he's got a broken bone? Fortunately, my neighbour called the ambulance. Unfortunately, it took a long time that the ambulance was going to come, and we couldn't leave him on the ground, and he was able to get up. So my neighbour and his son did walk the gentleman home together with his wife, who'd been following at a distance, and they managed to get them home, and he did manage to get the medical attention much later in the day that he needed, and had some stitches in his face. Now, I only found out yesterday the outcome of this when another neighbour told me. Another neighbour had, their doorbell had recorded it and he'd seen me there and told me that the gentleman required 7 stitches. He's quite bruised, obviously, but he is okay. So I'm glad I know that he's okay, and also I'm glad that we did call the ambulance because everything in my being said he's going to need some medical attention. His face is cut, otherwise he wouldn't be bleeding. But there was that moment when someone said to me, does he need an ambulance? I was like, well, why do you think he doesn't? And it's those moments we have in life, isn't it, when we feel it in our being, and it just takes one person to say something and that little doubt or fear just crops up within us. And I've been reflecting on that over the past few days, and fortunately, in the great scheme of things, that doubt and fear didn't last too long at that point. It was like, why don't you think he does? And he went, well, I don't know what happened. I'm like, I saw the blood again. I'm like, yes, he needs an ambulance. Please call an ambulance. And it was absolutely the right thing to do for him. So I'm fortunate that my fear and doubt didn't override kind of what my intuitive self and being knew what to do. But that's just one example of what can happen in life, isn't it? Sometimes it's bigger decisions and someone says, oh, do you really want to do that? Or are you sure about this? Or, oh, well, I wouldn't do that if it was me. And we get caught up in other people's questioning and narrative when it's not ours. So that reflection is just a lovely lesson to remind me, and I hope it helps remind you as well, that when everything inside you, physically, emotionally, psychologically, just everything in you is saying, yes, this is what needs to be done, and then that one person says something, it's okay that you stop and think, oh, hang on a minute, is there something in that? And then if everything else in you still says, no, this is the thing we need to do, then trust your intuition. I trusted mine, and it did pay off for that gentleman. He did need that medical attention. So that's my reflection for this week's Intuition Diary. As I said at the beginning, it's going to be taking a break for a little while as we move on to the Intuitive Advent, which is the third year I've done this. That'll be starting on the 1st of December, obviously. But it's not an Advent to Christmas, it's an Advent to the winter solstice, because that's my celebration and preparation for this winter season. So I hope you'll follow along for the Intuitive Advent, and I will be back in January with the Intuition Diary or the Intuition Insight. I don't know yet. We'll see what my intuition tells me to do. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.